Hey guys, so yeah, once again, this is an episode where I feel like with each arc and episode I end up revisiting in the anime. I'm getting a new perspective each time that I just didn't have or was too stupid in order to understand from reading the manga at the time. And one that kind of stuck out to me with this episode particularly is how backwards I'd gotten the villain dynamics of this arc. At the time, I thought Illega was like the main villain simply because he was the one in the forefront of the arc. But when you really get down to it, he's kind of just a flunky or secondary antagonist at best. It's the fake sister and even to a degree Jin who are the actual antagonists of this arc. And again, probably the most obvious thing to say, but it's one of those things where, despite how little screen time both characters have, despite how bare bones screen time these two have compared to Allega, they still they like the fake sister still, for example, is the one with the more threatening presence and overall just this pretty much aura of just natural danger around her. Whereas Allega's threat mostly came from just how much of a creep he was, which, don't get me wrong, it was still so incredibly satisfying when Shiki kicked Allega's bloated amphibian ass, but he's not necessarily the one we were that I think we were expected to really latch onto. It's more Jin and it's more the fake sister. Like they're the ones who are the threats in this situation. And although I do have to admit that whole speech that Allega gave about money being able to buy everything is a lot more eerie now than when I first thought. And but the thing is, and again, the episode did all that while at the same time by pretty much giving us this rematch between Shiki and Jin, it in itself is setting Jin up on a long term like character arc. Like this, even after this battle is over, you will pretty much see Jin again. Cause and the thing is with Jin, he's kind of one of those. He's kind of more almost kind of a rival for Shiki than he a bit of a rival for Shiki than he is an actual antagonist, because again you are going to see him again, and just from this episode alone you can pretty much see that when pretty much Jin talks and the way he acts, you can tell that this man does have reasons for what he's doing, even if it means associating with the criminal underworld and being a mercenary. And this episode, it gave us a bit more of a taste of that, even though we didn't get any direct answers, which is going to build up again more than likely in season two. The episode also gave way. The episode also gave Gwais quite a bit more play this episode, as we get to see how, like, as we see him kind of play this little game with Homura, where he's pretty much saying, "I don't trust you. I'm going to defeat you." But as we find out later on, we his conversation with Homer is one of the things where he was basically everything he was saying to her. It was him just kind of it was him just wanting to lure out Mos. It was him just wanting to lure out like from Moscow into a trap by pretending he had turned on Homura and acting as if he was letting his guard down. But in reality, as we learn, he had set up a gun trap, and for the express purpose of pretty much taking out Moscow. Like I think he knew that Moscow was on his way, so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna set this trap and then I'm gonna lure him out. So like I kind of like how this does show a lot more of Weiss's tactical side, more or less. Um, with that said, let's talk about the reveal at the end of the episode that a temporal anomaly, simply known as a chronophage, is on course towards Gilst while consuming one world after another on its course. And the translation of which is dialogue of her saying that the planets it consumes are dying is kind of a very loose term of saying what's actually happening, which is that the time on those planets is being consumed and they're reverting back to how they were upon their origins. So in that sense, the mystery of what happened to Norma has pretty much been solved with the appearance of this chronophage. And yeah, the chronophages are in are in some ways both the biggest shakeup and the biggest mystery this series has, because the thing is that they actually play a pretty big role in the first chunk of the story. But in fact, in the first chunk of the story, in fact, I think Gilst was the last time would actually see a chronophage. I could be wrong, but it's one of those, but yeah, it's one of those things where they play a pretty big role to start off, but after a while they just kind of drop off of the story at the same time, and which in that respect I think that it does solidify my theory that they are connected to Mother in some way. But yeah, just currently where the story is right now, I'm not sure what their overall role is going to be in the future. In fact, the more I think about it, I think, yeah, again, I think Gilst was in fact the last time we would see a chronophage, and just the fact that they are built up as this great cosmic evil, that does in some ways make you question if Mother herself is benevolent as she's made out to be, or if there isn't in fact a necessary evil behind the chronophage's existence. It's these little things that make me wonder as a manga reader just what Mashima's plans are for the chronophages. Like, what exactly is he planning? But again, like I said, they've kind of dropped off, so I don't. They've kind of dropped off in the manga right now, so I don't know exactly what the plans are for them right now. And yeah, we get the introduction to Homer as Ether Gear in this episode, Soul Blade, and yeah, like I had kind of alluded to last week, this week it's basically her Ether Gear is the same as Valkyrie's, but now more obviously establishing the connection between the two characters. And as I had said last week, though, this should have been like the first major sign to me that something wasn't right, that Majin was setting up something major. But at the same time, I had just assumed that was just what was that he was just setting up a heartfelt reunion between Homer and Valkyrie. And from a certain point of view, that is what happened. But at the time, not exactly the way I expected either. And it's kind of amazing how only now I'm noticing the like more blatantly obvious signs of where Mashima was taking this story, like this little character arc for Homura and Valkyrie. Like now, if I did have a slight problem with Homura's scene, honestly, is that it felt like the animation and artwork did take a bit of a dip, at least compared to how we saw the scene in the opening. And it's not even that it's bad, I guess, but it felt like the studio kind of played it safe. Like they were just using a lot of tricks in order to just, I guess, in order to make the panels look good, but they didn't actually put in, like they pretty much made the artwork look fine, but they played a few tricks in order to just save on the animation budget itself almost. And also, I haven't really mentioned it before, but the pacing is getting quite a bit slower, and because of that, I'm not even sure where the anime is looking to stop when we reach episode 25. Like, my best guess at this point would be the Mildian arc, but even that I'm not sure about anymore. Like, I'm not entirely certain as to where like as to where Netflix and Bridge are as to where Netflix and Studio Bridge, I think, is the one, no, or JC Staff, sorry, are even planning to end this arc off. Like, it's kind of like, okay, where are you guys taking this kind of thing? But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst, Crunchyroll, and be sure to hit the notification button, and just share this one around, guys. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later.